Hi guys, welcome back to the Fermented World channel. Today is brew day. We are going to be brewing a figs and cinnamon mead using the normal blossom honey from Hilltop, nice and cheap, tastes lovely, and half a packet of M05 mead yeast. And while we wait for that water to boil in the kettle, we're only going to use a litre of hot water. What it does is it gets it to a nice temperature even when you've added the cold water after, and it allows the honey to dissolve in a lot quicker. So I'm going to chop the figs up while we're waiting. These do have potassium sorbate on them, which is a preservative, but we should be able to bypass that with the volume of yeast that's going to be in there. Fingers crossed. So let's get these chopped up. So for argument's sake, we're going to say that that was 250 grams, even though we did take 2 of these out. The only reason why I've got these is my daughter wanted to try them. And I bought some and she was like, yeah, okay. And I was like, are you going to eat any more? And she was like, no. So they've been sat in the fridge. And I thought, well, what can I do with them? And I was like, yes, I can make mead with them. I've used figs before in a methylglyn, which is anything that's got any mead style that's got herbs or spices in. So, okay, we've chopped them up into quarters just to make sure they're easy to get out later on. We're going to add 1 litre of hot water. To that, get rid of the kettle. And now we're going to add our honey to it. Honey, which I'll speed up. Okay, so that's the honey in, the hot water. Now we mix. I like to use the hot water. It just helps this part work a lot easier. Just having it in hot water dissolves within seconds. I mean, it's pretty much already dissolved. As well, if you're doing it into lukewarm or cold water, it just takes forever. So when you're mixing your honey, you want to make sure that it drips off like water and not gloops off like honey. Right, I'm happy with that. So now to this, we're going to top this up to the 4.5 litres mark, which I shall do over there right now. So now we're at the 4.5 litres mark. We don't want any more than that because this can only hold 4.5 litres. If we do any more than that, we're going to run the risk of it overflowing once the reaction of the fermentation starts happening, especially with the fruit we're adding. Make sure all that's nicely mixed in and oxygenated. Next step is to sterilize this, which I didn't do. I wonder if my other one's clean. Yes. No, it still needs a rinse. I'll be back. Okay. Got some funnels. Right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add the dates so that we're not putting them in last and they're plopping all over the place, making this solution. This is called a must before it's fermented. I think that's the same as a wine as well. I think you have a wine must, which mead essentially is wine just made of honey instead of grapes or another fruit. Now, I've never done a specific fig mead before, so I'm not sure what we're gonna get. I imagine it to have a earthy flavor, if that makes sense, from the figs, because as sweet as they are, and as nice as they are an acquired taste. Some people don't like them. I would say I don't mind them. I wouldn't go out of my way to eat them, but I do not mind them. Right, quickly wash my fingers. So now we add what we call yeast nutrients, which some people don't use, some people do. I like to use them. It just gives the yeast a head start, gives it a bit of a kick-ass start. That's a half a tablespoon. I think we could do 1 level teaspoon, sorry. So 1 teaspoon of this, and then we're going to mix that in. This chemical name is ammonium sulfate. There we are. And let's take a hydrometer while we've got it out before we put it in the demijohn. Might as well. Half tempted to put some more honey in. Nah, we'll leave it. We'll see what happens. If it stops spinning round every time I let go of it. That's 2, 4, 6. 96. And then we're going to tip this into here and then add the cinnamon stick, pitch the yeast, and jobs are good 'un. It's still a little bit warm, but this yeast can be pitched between 15 to 30 degrees, so we're all right. It'll wake it up if anything. So I'm going to speed this bit up. I forgot one of my own rules. When using fruit, take away half a litre, because when that fruit, now obviously you can see the fruit at the bottom, it's caused this to, instead of be here, to be up here, which means this could overflow. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be sterilising a piece of kit called a blow-off tube, and I'll show you what that is shortly, just in case we do get any kickback from this, which is quite possible. So that's everything in apart from the cinnamon stick. Now I'm going to put a whole cinnamon stick in because I have no real use for it. Well, 1 and a bit. You might think that's excessive, but you know, you do you and I'll do me. If you don't want to put all of it in, don't put all of it in. But as you can clearly see, I did want to put it all in, so I did. And obviously these ideas, they're only ideas. They can be adapted to however you like it. If you don't like cinnamon at all, I'm not even a big fan of cinnamon, but in my mind, I just thought that cinnamon and figs would go nice. It might not. That's why I do the experimenting, so you don't have to. And then we mix the yeast in. Making sure it's all wet. Like so. Whee! And that's that really. We're going to add the airlock, but like I said, I'm going to sterilize some tubing to do a blow off tube. So I will be back shortly to show you that. Until then, I'll be back. So I've sterilized a bit of tubing and we attach the inner of one of these airlocks to it. You can see that in there. It's just attached like that. So we're going to completely replace this one with the one with the blow off tube on. And this is just so that if it's going to cause an eruption or it's going to push any of the fruit up or anything like that or overflow, we're going to catch all the overflows in this cup. Just like so. Really simple, really effective. quick update on the fig and cinnamon. Now this exact reason here is why I put the blow off tube on. I've had to change the water as it is pumping gunk through, and as you can see the water level does start to rise, so I've had to change the glass. But it's good to have two side by side just to make sure that you're going to be okay. Again, this was caused because I hadn't removed half a litre to compensate for the fruit. Fruit just has a crazy reaction in there. If fig is a fruit, I'm quite sure it is. Yeah, so that's why we used the blow off tube, knowing that this was going to happen. These normal meads, like that's a traditional mead, that won't do this. That's another mead that I've done which shouldn't do it if it starts to ferment nicely. And this one did start to do it with the orange in, but it didn't have loads in, so it kind of stopped at a certain point and we were good. So yeah, blow off tubes if you fill it too much.